Adjunct Professor Moran, Macroeconomics 111. In our last session we discussed consumption, the first variable in our Keynesian model. Our Keynesian model, we're going to start off by discussing the simple Keynesian model. And it's called the private closed model because we're going to make some simplifying assumptions that there is no government and there are no imports and exports. No government means it's private and no exports means it's closed. So the private closed model is the first one we are starting with. Later we're going to add back in government and exports and have the full Keynesian model. We discussed consumption and how the most important determinant of consumption is income. The more your income goes up, the more consumption goes up. We want to be able to explain consumption since it is the largest variable in gross domestic product and aggregate expenditures. We discussed this concept called marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save. How likely are you to consume an increase in income? And how likely are you to save a change in income? Now, although income is the largest determinant of consumption, there are other things that affect whether you're going to consume something that is not income. And we need to discuss those now. That's wealth, expectations, taxes, and household debt, which is also known as indebtedness. Now, if you rearrange those, they'll spell the acronym WHITE, and that's an easy way of remembering the non-income determinants: wealth, indebtedness, taxes, expectations. So, what do these do? These are shifters of consumption. We've decided the most important determinant of consumption is disposable income. We're going to write a 45-degree reference line here just to see which one's larger, consumption and disposable income, if we don't happen to be on this line. Here's our consumption function with a slope less than 1. The slope equals the marginal propensity to consume. When income goes from DI1, consumption will be C1. When income rises to DI2, we'll go to C2. When income rises to DI3, we'll come up here to the consumption function, come over to the consumption line, and 3. Here, at a very low level of income, go up past the 45 reference line until you hit the consumption line and go here. Since we're on this side of the 45 reference line, consumption will be larger than disposable income, and we will have savings. You'll be withdrawing money from savings accounts. But if your income rises to here, your consumption will be equal to disposable income, and that's called break even. And third, if your income goes up even further, you will have some amount of savings. And then this will be your consumption amount. Sometimes it's not consumption that's changing though. Sometimes other things besides income causes consumption to change. So as long as you have income changing, then you can predict what's going to happen to consumption, and you ride this line. A change in disposable income results in a new point on the consumption line. But there are other things that will affect consumption besides disposable income. Let's say we start off with one consumption line and wealth increases. Wealth is an amount of money you have, say, in stocks, bonds, and savings. Wealth is considered a stock, but not in the sense of the stock market. A stock, an amount of something that remains constant unless it's acted upon. Income, as opposed to wealth, is a flow. You earn income as you go. Now, let's say you have money in the stock market, and the stock market goes up. If the stock market goes up, then this will cause you to save less. Because in effect, the increase in the stock market is doing your savings for you. As a result, at any one level of income, your consumption will rise. So here's one level of income, and here's a new level of consumption. This is off of the existing line though. I can't show you more consumption on this existing line because more on this existing line implies a higher income. So when wealth changes, when the stock market goes up, for example, and you save less because the stock market is in effect doing your savings for you, your consumption at that amount of income will rise, and the entire consumption line has increased from C1 to C2. On the other hand, if the stock market declines, then you're concerned about your future savings purchase power, and you will save more to make up for that decline in the stock market. You'll put more money in the stock market, for example. And so at any one level of income, you will go down from C2 to C1. At any one level of income, your consumption will fall. That's the wealth effect, and this is going to cause disposable income constant. The wealth effect is changing. Wealth is changing, and it's causing a shift in the consumption line, a shift, a movement, a new line. Indebtedness. Take your consumption and disposable income graphs, your 45-degree reference line, start with one consumption line. Here's break even, disposable income 1, consumption 1. Now, let's say that you go and borrow money. Your income hasn't changed, your indebtedness has. And that nobody borrows money if you're not going to spend it, because the interest rate you pay on a loan is higher than the amount of money you'll get in, say, if you deposit in a savings account. So when people borrow money, consumption will rise. At any one level of income, given indebtedness, consumption will rise. So it's not indebtedness now that it's explaining this. So you can't ride on one line. Income changes, consumption changes, you ride on one line. But if income is remaining constant and one of these is changing, you have a new line. You have a different amount of consumption at that level of income. Now, indebtedness is a double-edged sword, because initially, when you borrow money, at any one level of income, consumption will rise. But soon, you will have to pay that loan back. And so at any one level of income, consumption will then fall. Right? Taxes. If the government reduces taxes, then you have more disposable income left. Personal income minus taxes, personal income taxes equals disposable income. So in this case, we're really talking about personal income. Personal income constant. But if the government cuts your taxes, then you'll have more disposable income to consume or save. And so your consumption will rise. Any one level of income, consumption will go up. And that's good if you want to fight a recession. People aren't spending enough money. How can you encourage them to spend more money? By letting them have more of the money they earned initially be kept, and then they'll either consume it or save it. But if we're fighting inflation, then society's trying to buy more output we can make at full employment, and so you would want to reduce consumption, and you could increase taxes, causing at any one level of income consumption to fall. The last thing that shifts consumption, causes a new consumption number at any one level of disposable income, is expectations. If you think your income is going to go up in the future, you won't wait until you actually get that increase in income to spend it. You'll start spending it now, believe it or not. So if you think your income is constant now, you think your income is going to go up in the future, then you will go from C1 to C2. And at the current level of income, not yet affected by the expected future change, you'll be consuming more. If, though, you anticipate a recession in the future and you're concerned you may not get a bonus or you lose your job, then at the current level of income, you'll cut back on your consumption. So the way to remember shifters, these are shifters, is white: wealth, indebtedness, taxes, and expectations. You'll get a new consumption line at any one level of consumption. But here, if it's income itself, that's the thing we predicted was the most important predictor of consumption. So we built this relationship. And as long as income continues to cause consumption to change, you'll ride on one line.